toxic masculinity.
Experts warn Biden's land and water conservation plan is a land grab. Okay, so they've got this. Biden's got this new plan called 30 by 30, where he wants to take 30% of the land in America by 2030, and basically put it in the hands of the federal government. Oh joy, because we need the federal government to be even bigger. So let's go ahead and have a look at what this guy has to say. He's a fisherman, and he's not happy about this.
Hildreth has been fishing these waters for 30 years, but he's now worried about an executive order signed by President Biden in January. It's called 30 by 30, and it mandates protecting 30% of America's waterways and 30% of her land by the year 2030. The problem for some is it's not quite clear exactly what protection means. So the question everybody's asking is, are they protecting the ocean for you, or are they protecting it from you?
Exactly. That is the $100 million question.
We are taking so many fish out of the ocean.
Enric Sala is from National Geographic, one of many environmental groups pushing 30 by 30 to states and local governments.
We need half of the planet in its natural state. So we can start by protecting at least 30% of our land and 30% of our ocean by 2030.
And it's that acquisition of huge swaths of land that has property rights advocates also worried. Margaret Byfield heads American Stewards of Liberty, one of the main opponents of 30 by 30.
We're looking at a huge land grab that is going to fundamentally change land ownership in America.
So your opponents say taking this much land will fundamentally change land ownership in the United States. What do you say?
We're talking about the future of humanity, and everybody has a role to play.
Hildreth says he's...
We're talking about the future of humanity. So this is basically the excuse that these leftists always use for introducing radical, completely destructive, utterly destructive policies. We want to implement this destructive policy, but it's for your own good. What are the 9 most terrifying words in the English language? I believe they are, I'm from the government, and I'm here to help. And that's exactly what's going on here. The government's pretending that they're doing this for your own good, because we can manage the land better than you can. But here's why this is not as big of a deal as you think. The government already controls 28% of the land in America. Yeah, you didn't know that, did you? Because nobody talks about that. The government owns 28% of American land. And have a look at this map. This is the craziest thing that I discovered in my little research before I did the show today, which maybe I'll do a video on this for Mr. Reagan. This is insane. Okay, look at this. Look at this. This is all the land that's owned in the various states. I want to say east of the Rocky Mountains, but it's actually even further east than that. But you look at all these states, the earlier states especially, and the government owns almost nothing, right? They own almost none of the land, right? The most you'll see is like 10% here. And where else? Where's another big one? Florida's 8.2. What is this? They've got 11.8. What is that? North Carolina. And Texas, they own almost nothing, 1.9%. It's crazy how little they own. Then you get over here to like New Mexico, Colorado, Wyoming, Montana, Idaho, Utah, Arizona, Nevada, California, my home state of Oregon, and Washington, where my family lived for many years. And many of my family still live there. And actually I have family in Alaska as well. And if you look at all these states, it's insane how much the government owns. Like, why should the government own almost 50% of the land in all of these states? That doesn't make any sense. In Oregon, they own over 50% of the land. In Alaska, they have almost 70% of the land in Alaska. What the hell is that? I mean, that's not appropriate. I mean, so in the western states, the government basically owns all the land. To me, that's totally inappropriate. That land needs to be held in private hands. This idea that, they already have harsh regulations, right? You can't pollute. There's a lot of regulations, especially in like forests and stuff like that, to protect wildlife and whatnot. So there's only certain ways in which land can be developed in certain places anyway. Why does the government have to own it? The government should own land that, like, they build a federal building on, right? Or maybe they have to have a, you know, they maybe have to have a hydroelectric dam or something like that, which I don't even agree with because that should be private as well. But, I mean, what the hell's going on? The federal government owns 28%. Why all this? Why? What are we, Russia? What the hell is that? No, that should all be owned by private. If anything, it should be something like 1.2. 0.8. I like that one. Should be even less than that. What's the smallest one we can find here? 0.4, it looks like, in New York City. 0.4. New York City. New York State, obviously. New York State, 0.4. I like that. I think 0.4 should be the standard. The federal government obviously doesn't need more than 0.4% of the land mass in any particular area because that's all they have in New York State. Okay, that's the lowest they have. You can obviously get by on that. That's what you get. 0.4. Everything else has to be sold to private companies, not the Chinese. All right. So I'm a little bit pissed off about that, finding out that the government already owns 28% of the land in America. But anyway, let's move on to the next story, which I'm sure will also piss me off. Let's see here. Biden order rescinds Trump plan to collect facial scans and DNA from immigrants. Okay, I didn't have a chance to read this one either, so we're going on the roller coaster together, ladies and gentlemen. Let's have a look. This is from the Epoch Times. Biden order rescinds Trump plan to collect facial scans and DNA from immigrants. See, now, I'm not saying that Toxic Masculinity, weekdays, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific.